Hi everybody, my name is Tori Earl and I am an Extension Specialist for 4-H Youth Development with the University of Kentucky's College of Agriculture, Food and Environment Cooperative Extension Service. The following segment is designed to give you a visual instruction on one of this year's segments of the 4-H National STEM Challenge Galactic Quest. In our next segment of the 2021 National 4-H STEM Challenge, we're going to introduce you to a board game that will help youth learn more about resources that are available that they would need to colonize something in space. They're going to learn a little bit about how to collect those resources and what they would need to survive, not only to eat, but also to help establish these colonies and stay healthy while they're in space. This board game is called Astro Adventure, and now we're going to move into how to play it. The Astro Adventure board game is contained within your kit, and it looks like this, the box does. But as you open it up, you'll see that there are some game pieces. Now these come on a card, so you will have to separate them, and I'd recommend using either small containers or Ziploc bags to hold them all together. You have situation cards, which play a role in the game. You have 2 dice, and you have game pieces. There's enough in here for 6 teams, and there's 4 pieces per team. Then you have your game board. The Astro Adventure game board, you will start on the side with Earth, Moon, the International Space Station, the far side of the Moon, or Earth again. And each of the teams will take turns rolling to see who goes first. You roll a die, and whoever has the high, or actually you would roll both die, and whoever has the highest number would be the first team to go. Now you could play it individually, especially if you were doing it virtually. Each person would have to have one of the games, but you could roll individually and have them say what number they've got, and then they could put their pieces out and start to move. We have the game board set up here as it would be to start the game. I'm going to roll our die, and this is going to represent the green, and the green got an 11. So let's just say that they're the first ones to go. Everybody else would roll and nobody got an 11. So we're going to roll, and we've got a 6. When you move on the corners of the hexagons, so the spaces in between. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, these are the spaces to where you can actually earn tokens for the different resources that you will need to collect: water, carbon, propellant, and rare minerals. Each one of these tokens is worth a point. There's point values in the facilitator and the youth guide. But the idea is to earn these tokens as much as you can, and to earn those, what would have to happen is a player rolls a die, and anyone with a pawn beside the number, or anyone with a pawn beside one of the token collection spaces with that number that's rolled would get a token. To finish the game, a player must have all 4 of their team pawns on the board, and then yell blast off. You can have all 4 of your all 4 of your pawns on the board and not yell blast off to see if you can collect more tokens. But the game ends when a team gets all 4 of their pawns onto the board and yells blast off. We'll talk about the point values in just a second. In the scenario we have set up here, The blue pawn has not been able to move yet. They were the last one to go. So we'll roll a die for the blue pawn. And they have rolled a 4. So they start to move. 1, 2, 3. And part of the rules of the game is you cannot move to a space that is adjacent to another pawn. So the blue would have to either move up for its 4 or back this way for its 4. It could not move to here because it would be adjacent to the green pawn. So we're going to move right there. And now we'll roll again, starting with our green pawn. And there is a 5 that has been rolled. Looking over the board, the green pawn can move 5, but the yellow pawn is sitting beside a water resource with a 5 on it. So the yellow pawn, or the pawn for the yellow team, would collect 1 water resource. The green would move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then next team would roll. We get a 2. And with a 2, there is no pawn sitting beside a resource with a 2, so let's just say the orange, 1, 2, would move 2. In the scenario we have played out here, we have the blue pawn, the red pawn, and the purple pawn sitting around this little cluster. None of them are directly adjacent to each other, so that is all as it should be. And someone has rolled an 8. What's going to happen is the purple pawn's team is going to collect 1 water resource and 1 carbon resource, because both of those contain an 8. If a 6 would have been rolled, it would have been blue and red collect a propellant resource. And if it would have been a 9 rolled, only the red team would collect a water resource. In the scenario we have pictured here, the yellow pawn has rolled a 7. And the 7 designates that you draw a situation card. Now, the situation cards have scenarios on them, and the idea is that the person who draws the card will read the scenario and act it out, or act on what it's required. This one, you have just harvested leafy greens and radishes to create a cosmic salad. It's important for astronauts to be physically and mentally healthy during missions. Scientists are working to find out ways to ensure that fresh, healthy vegetables are available on a long-duration mission. Gardening in space can also serve as an enjoyable recreational activity. Tell the group 1 vegetable that you would like to grow while on a long mission. Then, after they have announced that to the group, they can trade places with any player's ship on the board. Now, these situation cards have all kinds of different situations, physical activities, and if a person does not have the resources available at the time to perform what's on the card, they take no action at all. Page 12 of the Youth Guide contains the detailed written instructions on how to play Astro Adventures. It also contains a chart for what happens when dice are rolled and what numbers come up. And it contains the point value, a chart for the point value for each of the resources collected, the situation cards, and the pawns. On page 13 in the Youth Guide, you will also notice there's a chart for determining probability. This is the math component of the STEM challenge. Youth can track each time the dice are rolled and record that, and they can start to then calculate the probability of how many times a certain number is going to be rolled during the game. You can use this, you don't have to use it, but if you're working with a group that is working on mathematics or statistics or probability, it may be something that you want to incorporate with this as well. As you would play a game of Astro Adventures, encourage your participants to think about the resources they would actually need if they were trying to colonize a planet in the solar system. What would they need to take with them? What would they need to try to find? How would they go about that process? Also, encourage them to think about what they might need to develop for the future in order to establish a colony on another planet. Now, take a few minutes, play a couple of rounds, and see what you think.